Greetings, everyone. Can we forget the past? Can we ignore the present? Can we discount the future? Only you can decide the answer to that. Every person's answer to that is going to be different. For me, the past is very important because it is through those past experiences that we learn wisdom, but it's through those past experiences that are future or present day gains its inspiration. And the future is going to be a reflection of what happens now. So we can't ask people to forget their past and just move on from that, because if you do that, you discount where you are, and those valuable lessons that we're supposed to be taking from the past to apply to present, will cause us to go in the wrong direction. There's so many things on my mind today, and I really want to keep this brief, but I see 3-hour videos online with people cursing and swearing, and people watch. So if this goes on longer than I intend for it to, I know that there's at least 1 or 2 persons that will watch. See, this morning I got up and mind ticking as usual. Thinking about what's going on in my own personal life and what's going on in other person's life based on what they've shared with me. And I always like to say these are serious times. They really are serious times. You can see it in every area of your life. You see the manifestation of this strangeness that is happening. Some of us can't put our finger on that button that says stop. Let's rewind. Let's see if we can fix that. A lot of us just can't rewind. You just can't rewind the past. Nobody can rewind the past, really. We can only learn from that past and see what we can fix in this time. And this time will influence the outcome of tomorrow. That's why as people, as citizens of the world, we cannot stand back or sit down or lay down and say, well, what can I do? There's nothing I can do. There is something you can do, even for yourself in your own home. I'm talking today about how we have neglected to stand up for ourselves as human beings, and how we have been complicit in allowing a small group of people to determine what is best for the rest of us. This morning when I woke up, this spirit entered my body. For those of you who wouldn't understand it if I explained it another way, but this spirit is awakened in me to say, how did we allow a few men and women to go into a room and decide that they were going to determine what was best for all of us in the world? How did that happen? I'm still harping on that NIDS business in Jamaica. I just can't move on from it yet. I'm just not ready to move on from it yet, because I know it is very serious. Our lives are always, we have handed over our lives to a few men who are not even wise. And we allow these individuals to make decisions for us that are destructive to our lives and to our future. So the idea is, how did these individuals in Jamaica, a few people, come together? And when you listen to the explanation as to how they come to determine that the NIDS is the best thing for the people, which we should know, even if you're dunce, would realize that these individuals that are talking about these changes are really pretty much just doing what they've always done, which is sell out their people. Because this thing has nothing to do with anything that is going to improve our lives. It has nothing to do. It is all about them and what is best for them and their children. But the part that's really bothering me is that these frail human beings like you and I have said that they're going to create legislation that is going to allow them to bring this thing into fruition, that is going to force every Jamaican from every nook and cranny to come in and register themselves like you're herding, you know, when you're bringing in the beasts, bringing them in to collect data from them that you decide is best for you to do what. When we hear about organ harvesting, people denied it and said it was not true. And now they're coming out and saying, let's get under this umbrella. Let's get this NIDS, because now when you do, we can watch the situation with harvest. I thought there was no organ harvesting in Jamaica. Now, what I want to say is that I noticed that, you know, women were missing, people were being killed and raped, and, you know, there was no explanation. And then after some supposed police officer was caught bothering a young girl in the morning, and then in the evening was spotted and nabbed, all of a sudden, there was no more death, no more kidnapping of the women. It suddenly stopped. So I guess this new NIDS thing would be a new way to prevent such matters from happening, from the girls from getting kidnapped in this taxi and killed or whatever. See, the government knows what they're doing, and that's good for them. But the people of Jamaica have to understand that nobody, when you were created in your true beauty and magnificence, no instruction came for any other man to take you into captivity. No other man had permission from the universe to round up people, to scan your eyes, to take your fingerprint, your footprint, to take your vein pattern. No human being has that kind of power over man. And unless you give them that, they can't have it. The whole Jamaica, 14 parishes of Jamaica, cannot be locked away in prison. It just cannot happen. So those who want this, for whatever reason, have already sold out. They've already sold their soul, sold their heart. They're devils. And to say that you're going to go through the 14 parishes of Jamaica and force people, that's what I have the problem with, because you can roll out whatever you want to roll out and you can invite people to participate in this, but you cannot tell human beings created in true magnificence that you, as a little scoundrel who goes to use the bathroom just like anybody, and if you don't take a shower you stink, that you are going to make a decision for every human being to do vein patterns and whatever. China is behind this. China, with their totalitarian system, have found a way how to control their people. China is not controlling the Jamaican people. Black people, it's time for you to wake up. We are true revolutionary people. And when we say revolutionary people, we are talking about people who have invented all kinds of things, individuals who have weathered all kinds of storm, who have stood up against social injustice and racial injustice. Why have we become people who are like goats and sheep led into captivity? Now, that did happen in the past through force and gun and through betrayal of our own people. That is what I've been trying to say recently. That if I am not going to tell the truth about the role that Black people have played in their own destruction and how we've always had traitors within our own midst that sold our own people, then I might as well come out and publicly apologize to the white folks. For those of you who understood what I was trying to say, blessings to you. But it's also an example of who we are, our ability to think for ourselves as Black people. Because if I had 100 person listen to that video, only 1 or 2 would have gotten my point. We have to understand that it's an insult to what makes us true human beings. Blood coursing through our veins, having the ability to breathe in and out, to survive only by air. And, you know, it's not man that make us live. Mankind don't do nothing to make us live. If we don't have water, we die. If we can't breathe, we die. If the blood doesn't course through our veins properly, we die. If our functioning of our kidney and liver and lungs doesn't work, mankind has nothing to do with that. So how is it that we're allowing mankind to come to us with their tyrannical beast of a mind and bring us into captivity with all of these social inventions that does nothing but destroy? And what it really does is put a small group of people in a position, a privileged position, to control you and to destroy you. Without consultation, you cannot accept these things, even with consultation sometimes. But when you find yourself living in a country where the small group of people go behind closed doors and make decisions for you and then come to tell you that you have to. Hello, Jamaican government, Mr. Andrew Holness, you are not. You love to talk about God. You're not God. You're a man like anybody else. When you get sick, you seek help. And if you get sick, you don't even seek help in Jamaica. You go to America because you don't see your own country or the people in your country you don't see the school system as something that is worthy of training your children. You don't see the healthcare facility as something that you could trust to take care of your body. But you're asking the Jamaican people to allow you to scan their retina and scan their veins and scan their thing. You are allowing China to come to Jamaica. You sold out, Mr. Andrew Holness. I was stupid enough to trust you and thought that, okay, let somebody else who's younger or with a fresh mind come in and not be like those slave. Listen, the whole of the Jamaican government needs to be dismantled. You all need to retire. You planted yourself in the Parliament House to do what? Huh? And none of you cannot be trusted. Not one of you, because you all speak nicely and you all say this thing and you all sit by and do nothing to make sure the lives of the people are better. You have wasted millions of dollars and billions of dollars creating policies and not reinforcing anything. And now this one thing that benefits those who line your pocket so you can live in mansions. And so the other people continue to live and die. How could you live with yourself? You've got no conscience. How could you watch your children thriving and surviving and other person's children, except for their sweat, blood, and tears and their true determination, not with your help? You have managed to ostracize, alienate, and imprison every single person who have come to tell the people that they deserve better. Don't you see the pattern? There's a bad pattern. Now, I'm not saying I agree with all the dancehall and the lyrics that's going on there. Sometimes I've heard artists who don't really behave so well, but I've supported them because they have managed to tell the people that you matter. And now I think, a music industry can be fixed up and people can come out and, write songs with some lyrics that really inspire. You have managed to lock up every single person who influenced the people to dream big and to do better and to thrive and survive. Anybody that speak out against governments around the world is slated for destruction, imprisonment, or death, because you don't want anyone to inspire people to have a better life, to think better. You want to keep them in bondage, religious bondage, financial bondage, especially you're seeing the pattern in the world where people who work hard, who are dedicated, who are law-abiding citizens, they're not faring very well. Scammers and individuals in the world who are lazy, they're the ones who are getting by. If you stay silent, you shut up your mouth and you don't talk about anything that is wrong, you'll be okay. You don't like people who inspire other persons to dream big, to want more. So let's see you take the 14 parishes in Jamaica, round them up like dogs, like they did back in the day when they were selling slaves in Africa, like they're still doing today. This is why you can't just talk about what one group have done to you. You've got to talk about what you are doing to yourself. I am so ashamed of some of my people. And I'm telling you, for me, the last good prime minister Jamaica had was Michael Manley. And Michael Manley government, with the help of his own Jamaican people, sold him out. And I can show you videos of individuals who come out to say that they worked to undermine the Manley government, that they sent poison flower to Jamaica to sabotage. How can people do these things? How can people really go out of their way? How can they live with themselves to do these horrible things to other people? And this is why I can't believe in the kind of religion that I've been sold, because I would not be able to respect a God that would allow other human beings to continue doing these things to each other. The question is, who gave these individuals the opportunity to come up with these laws and these rules that they determine? How can 5 or 10 or 50 people sit in a room and say, okay, this is what we're going to decide for the rest of the people? It's time for us as human beings to drop these shackles off us. Throw off these chains. And it's not because we're black, we're in chain. Because there are other people, based on their, economic situation. There are some poor people in the world, regardless of their race, who are in bondage because a few persons sit in a room and decide what was best for them. It's time for us to run away these people. They can't control us. They can only do things when they solicit or advise. Somewhere down the road in the past, a few people came and said, okay, here is what religion should look like. Here is what, economics should look like. Here's what politics should look like. Here what human and social behavior should look like. Here is what nutrition should look like. Here is what fashion should look like. Here is what political correctness should look like. We've allowed people to F off our lives. We've given people too much power over us. And it'll be very difficult to take it back, because it's hundreds of years. Hundreds of years we have relinquished our own power. Our own right to choose the life that we need. We have relinquished that to other human beings who now see themselves like God. You can't tell some of these people that they're not God. Look at some beasts around the world claiming that they're leaders. And the ones who want to be good, decent human beings are fought head and toe. If you want to be a person who is in a position to do good, expect to be fought. If you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if you're a teacher, if you are a politician, if you're a religious person and your intention is good, you want people to be happy, you want to be just and right, you are not going to last very long. Because those who benefit from evil will not want to see righteousness. That's just plain and simple. So this thing about the NIDS thing, I am seeing that as just another strategy, a strategic move to sell out the Jamaican people as usual. Because 1 million people or 2 million people could have this ID. How does that change their life? Are they getting housing? And they're going to use this thing to blackmail people into getting it. Talking about, they can't get any social whatever that is available to them. Nothing is available to the Jamaican people besides stress and watching governments that they should be trusting, selling them out to other people. Oh my goodness. Now, before I leave, and I mentioned this in my last video, this is what bothered me the most, that they were referring to the Jamaican people as customers. And they had no choice but to say this in that conference, because you know what? The whole world have managed to make human beings turn us into customers. Oh, here's the new iPhone. It's the same thing as the last one, except this one have scanning device that will allow to scan your retina and make you put your fingerprint on it for it to work. This new phone that they're giving you is going to give you cancer and eventually kill you, even as they collect your data and the information that allows you or renders you a slave. consumer. Oh, it is now Christmas time. Oh, go out and buy gifts to people to show them that you love them. And you spend the entire flipping year and not calling somebody to say, I care. Oh, it's Easter. Oh, Christ died on the cross. So let us go out and buy some Easter eggs and do an Easter hunt. Oh, it is Valentine's. You live in the house with your partner. You don't even talk to each other. But Valentine's, you're going to buy flowers and roses. And some of you women, you're with men that don't pay any attention to you, that disrespect you the whole year. But as long as they buy you a rose or a teddy bear or a chocolate, that day everything is good. Oh, it is Thanksgiving. Oh, yes, let's go out and spend some money buying food that we can't finish when we cook it on Thanksgiving Day. And we eat until we're sick and we're stuffed and we eat this unhealthy, ungodly food. This food that is filled with pesticides and filled with all kinds of contaminants, all kind of fake things that is just causing us to have disease in our bodies. And we are nothing but the great consumers. Jamaican government, as educated as some of you are, you're the biggest fools I've ever seen and heard. To refer to people as consumers, when you, if you had any dignity, if you had anything about yourself, you would say, we are producers. Let us teach the people how to be producers. Let them come out of that frame mind that they're always, everything is on sale for them because they themselves, their bodies are available for sale. Production, producing, exporting, selling goods that you produce, as opposed to telling the people, preparing them to be consumers. Oh my goodness, I'm embarrassed. I'm truly embarrassed. But I'm also disillusioned because the truth of the matter is, if I was Paul Bogle or Sam Sharp or Nanny or Marcus Garvey, all of these individuals who worked hard to educate us and to teach us to stand up for ourselves and to say, let's cast off this chain. These persons, to me, it appears that they did it in vain. Martin Luther King, all these individuals who sacrificed their life, Malcolm X, they all died fighting for a cause. And the very thing that they fought for, if their spirit is around, and their spirit is around to watch it, they would be so disappointed. This is why our condition is the way it is as Black people. This is the curse that people are talking about. It's not the curse that they tell you about in the Bible. It's a curse to say that after all that was done, we do not honor the legacy of our forebears by not acknowledging it and living it. We disrespect them. The other nations in the world, if you notice how their group is cohesive, that's not to say human beings are not having problems within each group, and that jealousy and envy and all these things are not a problem in each group. But the bottom line is, whatever their forebears set out before them, they follow to this day. They honor the legacies of their forebear. They remember their birthdays. They celebrate their anniversaries. They remember their memorials. They do these things. If you do this, of course, you shall have the blessings of those who went before you. To honor the legacy of your forebear is unnecessary. It's the kind of sacrifice that is necessary and needed, because the sacrifice that people have paid in the past, whether it be through their blood, sweat, and tears, to take land and take people and take, resources, and they're benefiting from it now. How can they not look back? Now let's talk about, and we're not just talking about racism and talking about prejudice and all that. Everybody's prejudiced at some point. But what I'm trying to say is, if you look at countries like first world countries, because most first world countries are first nation countries too, but the first world countries, the thing that they have done to build the economies that they have, they can't just take credit for it. They have to go back and look at their foreparents, what they did, dying and fighting and building and restoring and securing for them today. But we have not done that in our race. We have not done that in the Black communities. We're not doing that now. We just tear down. We just kill. We just imprison. We just abandon. No true tribute to those who have died for our lives today. People are praying to Jesus, who they claim died. If anything, Jesus didn't die for Black people. Jesus would have died for the white folks. That's their God. We pay tribute to all the wrong things and not focus on what is right. So, while evil exists in every space, and there's good and bad in every race, we have to understand that the race of people who care about their own and do all they can to secure their own are the ones who are doing well, the ones who are really ruling, the ones who are surviving, the ones who people honor and respect. There's very little respect in our community because we ignore the past struggles and suffering and strides of our forebears. But the few persons who position themselves in power, they are wicked. And they try to pull the wool over our eyes and try to lie and sneak in. I read an article, and I'm going to plug it here in the description, about some time ago when someone in the same party in Jamaica said, I'm talking out today, I don't care. Somebody in that party said that the time was ripe for harvesting. I didn't say that. It was in the Jamaica Gleaner. And they said that they would have to do some legislation that would allow them to do certain things. They have to pass some legislation. Now that article was written, and now I'm left with no choice but to wonder if these things are linked. China's influence in Jamaica is great. And it's this biometric thing. They're leaders in this. And they're the ones who are also behind this. I'm sure there are other groups or nations who will benefit from this new data system. We have never had a government that cared about the people. They have divided the people. JLP, PNP come together and teach the people how to hate each other, how to separate themselves from each other. In other parts of the world, when there's an election, you don't even know there's an election day because you just vote or you don't vote. If you are PC, if you're, conservative or you're liberal or whatever, NDP, nobody cares. Because at the end of the day, whoever forms government is not just forming government for one group of people, for those people that voted for them. They do it for the entire nation, the entire country. So if the Liberal Party becomes prime minister of this country, they care for everybody. Whatever they roll out, it includes everyone. Everyone has a chance to benefit from it. Whereas in Jamaica, the divide and rule and conquer stigma still remains with them today. Lies are told all the time. Dishonesty is at the top. And when individuals, especially poor people who might start to inspire other person to come out and be better and to live, they're usually dismissed. Before I leave, my question is, why did Marcus Garvey, after he was deported from the United States of America, go to Jamaica and did not stay there? He went to England and died there. Remember, we're talking about racism, and he would have experienced that. He was fighting against that. It was his platform to tell people to stand up and, understand their value and their worth. He was deported. He went back to his own country. The same people he was out there making strides and changes for, he never stayed. He went and died in England because at some point he would have seen how disgusting his own people were, and that would have rather die around people who probably would have hated him. Bob Marley, same, was shot and almost killed in Jamaica. Bob Marley, who the whole world stand when they hear Bob Marley's name. They know, everybody know that man. Why did he die in Europe? After being such a revolutionary person, to talk out about racism and all these things openly and honestly with no, kind of fear. He died in Europe. Why? Claude McKay. Listen to his poems. Look at his love for Jamaica. He became poor in the end, and he died elsewhere. just some example of the kind of leaders we've had in Jamaica, and how I say they are the ones who was left to stand in the old plantation to carry out their wish and the agenda of people who don't like them. My best bet is to actually be around some white folks who care about people, who are honest with people, who have a good heart and a good intention. It is easier to get somewhere with white folks that have good intention, like the ones that helped to liberate the black people. When I'm saying the Underground Railroad, some of those white folks who died trying to protect black people, trying to help black people to escape. You're safer with those ones than these modern day Negroes. May bless everyone.